Hey guys, it's Vandiazol back at another Card Fight Vanguard deck profile. So if you guys enjoy, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to the Patreon. And let's get this one started. Today's deck is a weird version of Oracle Think Tank Battle Sister. And when I say weird, I mean weird, like as in something you would not expect to see, and it doesn't really make a lot of logical sense, but somehow it works. Somehow. Keyword literally being somehow. And I have people to volunteer that would actually vouch for that. So, let's go ahead and get this started. First up, as our starter, we have Solar Maiden Uzume. 6k base, 10k shield, auto and road upon you get to draw a card. Then if your opponent's Vanguard's a greater one or greater, you get a quick shield ticket. So pretty much the standard starter, the draw that I always top deck off of, followed by the quick shield. That's just a 5k shield, which you normally use for discarding purposes. So yeah, it doesn't really do anything special, but it's the closest thing I can get to a Battle Sister, so that's what we're going with. Now on for triggers, and this is where people are going to start complaining. First up, we've got 4 copies of Battle Sister Tiramisu, a draw trigger. Next up, we've got 4 copies of Psychic Bird, a critical trigger because there was no other Battle Sister trigger I could find. Next up, we got 4 copies of Battle Sister Ginger, another critical trigger. And finally, 4 copies of Battle Sister Brioche, who is a heal trigger. Now, if you can clearly see, in our whole entire trigger lineup, we run 8 crit, 4 draw, 4 heal. There are no draw PGs, no crit sentinels, and just that you know, there are no sentinels in general in this deck minus the protect gifts. So, you may be wondering, why is there no sentinels whatsoever? Well, because none of them have the Battle Sister name. And you may be wondering, well, why the fuck does that matter when you have most of the deck being Battle Sister? Which, you're right, but if you're in this situation where, and I've been in this situation a lot more than I can count actually, where you're out of rear guards and you have no choice but to call down triggers, wouldn't it be best, since you want to proc off your Vanguard's ability, to still have triggers that are Battle Sisters for the most part? So that's why it's like that. And then you may be wondering, well, if that's the case, why don't I just make the extra crit Psychic Bird become a draw PG? Well, the deck draws enough drawing on its own, so we do not need a draw PG. And 2, this deck needs criticals more than it needs draws. So, yeah, that's why there's no PGs in this deck. Now, you may think that is a very bad decision, and I agree with you. On, just straight up hearing it is a bad decision by hearing only. But if you actually playtest this deck, I promise you, it will go well once you get used to the feeling of, oh god, I forgot to put a PG in the deck. I'm so screwed when they bring up big numbers. I promise you, it feels like that, but you're actually in a really good situation. I should know because I've actually done that before. So onto the main deck, 4 copies of Battle Sister Castada, 8k base, 10k shield, auto rear once per turn. When your drive check reveals a trigger unit, you may have this unit get plus 10k power at end of turn. So pretty much just a free plus 10 when you draft check a trigger, and that's just really good. So, 4 copies. 4 copies of Battle Sister Pantone, 8k base, 10k shield, act rear, put it into soul, look at top 2, put one on the top and put the other on the bottom until end of turn. The power increase of your next trigger effect gets plus 10. So pretty much, the next time you drive check a trigger, that trigger also adds another plus 10. So say you have Castada on the board, and you just stack the crit on top, and you have something else on rear, you get attack with Van, twin drive first check crit. You give plus 20 to something on the board and an extra crit, while Castada also gets plus 10 off it, just being a nice card. It could also stack the top 2, or technically to stack the top card, followed by a Ghost of Soul, and this deck does Soul Blast a decent amount, so having this card is always helpful, so 4 of. Next up, we have, for our last grade 1, 4 copies of Battle Sister Tori, 8k base, 10k shield, auto Van rear. When placed, reveal the top card, and if it is a card with Battle Sister in its card name, you may put it to the hand, and this ability may only be used by a card with the same name as it once per turn, and you return it to the top if not added. And then auto rear once per turn. When you look at the top card of your deck by an effect during your turn, you may have this unit get plus 5,000 power till end of turn. Activates for look, reveal, search effects, 5,000 power regardless of the number of cards searched with one effect. So, now, to go off of it first, pretty much on place, look at top card, you either add it to hand or it stays there. So the only way it's staying there, because literally, the only card in this deck that is not a Battle Sister is the straight up Psychic Bird crit. So it's either you get a free hand card or you stack a crit at the top. So if you're going second, ride this and try to stack a crit at the top or just plus off it in general. While also, when you do your look effects which Battle Sisters are based off of, it just gets a free plus 5, so it's helpful. And as to go off what I said earlier about it being the last grade 1, why don't I run the Searcher when I do run that shitty-ass grade 3 for Battle Sisters that's a 24k base and you can't ride it? Well, The reason why there are no searchers is, once more, the Battle Sister thing. Like, a lot of times you will come across field nukes, or even if you don't come across field nukes, your opponent might just be killing your rear guards, and you have to constantly pump them out from hand, which, yeah, that doesn't seem to be a problem until you start realizing you're decking out. So, there's no reason to run a grade 1 searcher when all you need is one copy of formage, and then you just call down a bunch of Battle Sisters, and you can keep drawing off their effects and stacking more cards than having a search that kind of forces you to discard and might not even help you in the first place. So, yeah, this deck is pretty much... It sounds really inconsistent, and in some extent it is, but it really does work. Genuinely, if you play this, you will feel like you will die because you don't have a PG, and it makes you scramble in your mind because of how weird the deck feels, but you will actually win with it, because it's actually really good. Next up on the grade 2s, we got 3 copies of Battle Sister Tort, 8k base, 5k shield, continuous van or rear. If you have 10 or more cards in hand during your turn, it gets plus 10k power and plus 1 crit. So, 18k plus 1 critical, so 2 crit. This deck, it depends on how fast you rush out your hand. If you go like ham and you just get really lucky with all the draw triggers, then yeah, this thing can hit 18 with double crit really quickly. But otherwise, you don't hit this very often. You mainly use this for discard fodder, and you keep it because it's a Battle Sister. But there are times where it does actually hit 18k and a crit, and because of formage, that is actually helpful. So 3 copies, because she can do something if you can get her ability off, and she'll at least be discard fodder. Next up, we got 4 copies of Battle Sister Choquete, 9k base, 5k shield, auto van or rear. When placed, Soul Blast 1, look at top 5, reveal it to 1 grade 3 card from one of them and put it into your hand, put it at the top, and shuffle the rest back into the bottom of the deck, shuffle the rest back at the bottom, and then this unit gets plus 5k ton to battle. That is why you don't have a searcher. You have to Soul Blast for it, but you're not discarding. You're getting any grade 3 to some extent, and you're just shuffling the rest to bottom, so, you might not be seeing triggers from that. And it gets plus 5 off it. So I feel like this is a better searcher than the other one, because this is also a Battle Sister, so you can plus off it with formage as well. This, I think, is better than Divine Mage Ame no Mercuro, and the only reason why I remember that name is because its name ends in Mercuro. So, yeah, this is a better searcher, in my personal opinion. If you want to go with the other searcher, you can, but if you want to go for quote-unquote more consistency, then this is your option. So 4 copies. 4 copies of Battle Sister Macaron, 9k base, 5k shield, auto rear. Once per turn, when you look at the deck by an effect during your turn, you may have this unit get plus 10k power until end of turn, and it activates for look, reveals search effects, and you get 10k regardless of the amount of looked. So pretty much 19k hitter, that is just a 10k drop, and combined with formage, who I believe gives 5k power to all Battle Sisters, which is another reason why most of the triggers are Battle Sisters and why the draw PG is not here. It just adds more power. So 4 copies of Macaron because it's just a helpful card for pushing wise. And next up, 4 copies of Battle Sister Trifle. 9k base, 5k shield, auto van or rear, when placed from hand. Counter boss 1, look at top 3, call up to 1 Battle Sister and its card name from among them to rear, and put the rest on the bottom of your deck and top of the deck in any order. And then auto rear, when it attacks, if you looked at your deck by an ability this turn, aka this thing, until end of battle, this unit gets plus 5k power, and then Soul Blast 1 grade 3, and when your opponent your opponent cannot call Sentinels from hand to guard circle. So, pretty much, you stack the top 2, you get a free Battle Sister, 14k swing, and possible Sentinel restrict. So, that's just helpful, because it can give you resource, it can give you more field, which in turn gives you more power, you can get even more power, and then you can restrict Sentinel, so if this thing's hitting for big numbers and they have to Sentinel it, they can no longer do that. So, helpful card, and it's also a Battle Sister. So 4 copies, and I don't know why, but this looks like the Inazuma 11 version of Joan of Arc for some reason to me. I don't know why, but it does. And now on to grade 3s. 2 copies of Battle Sister Praline, 23k base, grade 3 twin drive, no gift. Continuous, you cannot ride it, and then auto rear when placed, reveal top card. If the revealed card is a normal unit, retire this unit. This effect is mandatory. So, pretty much, you have to pray to God that the top card is not a normal unit. But, because the card is just getting revealed, it stays at the top. So, you basically can stack it with formage, or stack it with anything else in the deck, and then call it, oh, look at that, it's a trigger, so you don't get it to do it, but yeah, your opponent knows there's a trigger at the top, but you got a 23k beat stick in the end. I'm pretty sure it evens out really well. So 2 copies, it's not the best card, but it's not the worst card either. And speaking of formage, 4 copies of Battle Sister Formage. 12k base, protect, gift, grade 3, twin drive, continuous van during your turn. If your opponent's vanguard is a grade 3 or greater, all units with Battle Sister in the card name get +5. That is why most of your deck needs to be Battle Sisters. It pluses to the board, it gives them more power, and auto Vannereer. Oh, well, sorry, we're not there yet, but we'll get there in a second. Auto Vannereer, when placed, counterblast 1 and soul blast 1, draw a card, and if you have a Vanguard Battle Sisters card name, draw another card. So I really like that. It does have a rear guard on play skill where you get to draw 2 basically. And then act Vanguard once per turn. Discard a card from your hand. Look at the same number of cards on the top of your deck as your number with Battle Sister units and their different card names, and put each card looked at the top of your or bottom of your deck in any order you wish. So, pretty much, you stack the top, you stack the bottom, you get any drive check triggers you want equal to the number of Battle Sister rear guards you have. This is why most of your deck needs to be Battle Sisters. You can call out units. Not be afraid to call down triggers because you don't have PGs, so your opponent doesn't really give 2 shits. Call down your triggers, call down anything else you need. They get 5k power because your opponent's probably at grade 3. You discard 1, you look at top 6, you stack the top 6, and then you just go on with your drive checks. It's very fun to do, and it's very hard for your opponent to guard, especially when you know what the triggers are and when you know when they're coming, because you get such a wide search. It's kind of like Demiurge, but easier, because I feel like when you do Demiurge, you kind of have to think a lot ahead, because you not only have to think about your turn, but you have to think about the opponent's turn too, and then probably the turn after that, and probably the turn after that, to the point where you got to think about what they're going to drive check, what you're going to drive check, what they have in their hand, what they're going to drive check on the next turn, what they're going to damage check, etc. Well, this one, you only really have to think up till your next turn. So I feel like it's more simpler to deal with, and you just basically get to stack your cards. You get power to Macaron, you get power to whatever the grade 1 is that gets +5k. It's just a good card all around, 4 copies. And then on to the gifts. Protect 1. Do not pick Protect 2. Do not pick Protect 2. The whole reason that this deck does not need PGs is because you get a lot of power out of it, and in some cases you really do need to call down triggers. And I know people that will not call down PGs, even if it's the best possible option in terms of aggressiveness, because they're afraid it will kill them. Do not use Protect 2. Because Protect 2 does not do anything for you. You do not need more aggression, because half the time your opponent murders your interceptors anyway, so you're just wasting it on power. But if you want to know what Protect 2 does, it gives your unit +5k power and 10k shield when it intercepts. But no, do not pick Protect 2. Only Protect 1. It's a free PG. Use Protect 1. I swear to God, if you use Protect 2, you are killing yourself. Protect 1. The whole reason why this deck is fine without PGs is because you have Protect 1, thankfully. And then the Quick Shield, which is a 5k shield, which you normally use for discarding. And that and Tort. Okay, that was the deck. I'm serious, though, because I keep saying it, and I'm actually genuinely serious about this. This deck does not need PGs. It does not need the Searcher Murakumo, who basically gets +5k power if you have a certain number of cards in hand, or if you looked at your deck or something, whatever his skill is. You do not need those 2 cards. This deck has its own Searcher. You do not need PGs. It feels very weird when you use a deck without PGs, when most of your decks, if not all the other ones, have PGs in them. It does feel weird, and it makes you kind of spastic at first. But after like 1 or 2 games, you get used to it, and the deck actually does work without the PGs, as long as you more or less know what you're doing. And when I say more or less know what you're doing, I mean you have the capabilities of reading your cards. I know it's hard, just read. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, donate to the Patreon. My Twitch channel has its link down below in the description, so you can go follow that. And I'm going to start streaming to that soon, thankfully. Discord link is in the description below, so you can go join that. And finally, my Beyblade channel is in the description below as well, so you can go subscribe to that. And I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to stand up your vanguards.